Once upon a time, in a small village nestled at the foot of the jagged peaks of the Misty Mountains, lived a man named Martin. He was known far and wide as the best mountain climber in the region. With a heart full of dreams and an insatiable thirst for adventure, Martin's eyes sparkled whenever he spoke of conquering the great, unnamed peak that no climber had ever summited. The mountain was feared by locals, buried deep in stories of strange shadows that danced across its slopes and howling winds that could steal the breath from one's lungs. Martin, however, was undeterred by cautionary tales. With a crew of brave souls behind him, he set out early one spring morning, their spirits bright against the backdrop of the towering granite cliffs. As they ascended, craggy cliffs loomed before them like ancient giants guarding their secrets. The air grew thin, the sky darkened, and a chill crept into their bones. Still, Martin led the way, forging ahead with unwavering resolve. On the third day of their expedition, the weather shifted violently. A dense fog rolled in, enveloping the group like a shroud. Visibility vanished, and panic began to seep into the hearts of his team. "We must keep moving," Martin insisted, his voice cutting through the gusts of wind. "The summit is just beyond the clouds." But one by one, his companions began to falter. Exhausted and terrified, they hesitated, unsure of whether to trust Martin's ambition or retreat to safety. In that critical moment, something stirred within Martin. A decision loomed larger than the mountain itself, to press forward alone or save his team. Straining against the biting wind and the mounting pressure, Martin chose to stay with his friends. "We climb together or not at all," he declared fiercely. United by his unwavering spirit, they trudged onward. As they ascended, the altitude affected their judgment, and the frantic whispers of the mountain stirred something deeper within Martin. Then, just as they reached a narrow ledge, disaster struck. A sudden avalanche thundered down the slope, cascading towards them like a wrathful beast unleashed. With no time to think, Martin instinctively ushered his team away from the peril. The freezing snow swept around them, tossing Martin into a dark abyss. He felt himself tumbling, snow blinding his vision and ice gnashing against his skin. Darkness swallowed him whole, and for a moment, he felt lifeless. When Martin finally awoke, he found himself in a small cave, the world outside still roiling with the aftermath of the snowstorm. Pain coursed through his body, but his heart sank deeper. He was alone, separated from his team. The realization hit him like a blow. He might be the only one left. Days passed inside the dim cave, but Martin clung to hope. He fashioned makeshift tools from sharp stones, gathered precious drops of melting snow to stay hydrated, and most importantly, prepared for escape. But the mountain whispered secrets in the wild winds, a strange, haunting melody that beckoned him deeper into its domain. Determined to find his friends, he pushed through the blizzard, navigating treacherous paths. Shadows flickered awkwardly in the corners of his mind, images of his friends urging him to follow the haunting melody. Eventually, he reached a massive, vertical wall of ice, glistening under the fractured beams of sunlight escaping the storm. With sheer willpower, he began his ascent, climbing higher despite the fear that gripped his soul. Each movement brought back memories of laughter shared with his friends, motivating him to keep going. With bloodied hands and a racing heart, he pulled himself to the summit, a place where the very wind seemed to chant his name. There he discovered his companions, battered but alive, huddled together. A surge of relief washed over him as they embraced, tears mingling with the gusts of cold air. They had assumed he was lost forever, but their faith in Martin had kept them anchored. As they stood together on that perilous peak, they gazed out at the vast array of mountains stretching into the horizon, each a testament to their journey. The shadows that had once haunted them now shimmered in the golden light of triumph. Together, they conquered not just the mountain but the fears that had burdened their hearts. With the bond of trust solidified and adventures etched into their souls, they began their descent, a newfound respect for the mountain and its mysteries guiding their path. Martin had stared into the void and emerged not just as a climber but as a leader, forever touched by the wild spirits of the Misty Mountains. And so, Martin returned to the village, not just as the best climber but as a legend, a story of courage whispered around firesides for generations to come, inspiring future adventurers to conquer their own unimaginable peaks.